All right, guys, what's up? Second live stream of the day. Go to the playlist section right now if you haven't seen my most recent upload. Breakdown, analysis, and prediction of Caterall versus Eubank, this weekend's main event in Manchester, England. I want to get your opinion on that. You could check out my prediction by clicking that video. Also, guys, I just posted right now in our post section an interesting two-leg parlay for tonight's fight in Turkey. The more I think about it, I'm talking obviously about Batyrgaziev and Jazza Dickens. When I'm looking at the tape on both guys over and over, I already gave you my prediction, the money line prediction, Batyrgaziev. But I'm thinking I'm going to take the over 9.5, and Batyrgaziev to win by stoppage. It's plus 750. It's far from a lock. But when you look at when Jazza has been stopped, and then the power that Batyrgaziev has, it's kind of like carry-along power, not really one punch, but his power carries through to the later rounds. You don't have to follow that lead. I posted it. Let me know what you think. I'm 50-50 on going with it. It could be a nice little, 750. 100 on it gets you 650 back. 50 gets you 300 back. Something to think about. I think it's a fun little bet to get a little bit of action. Yeah, Skeezy, I do two. I try to do 2 lives a day, maybe 4 or 5 days a week. I usually get it. My work schedule allows for it, considering I run my own business. So I've been the last 6 weeks. I've scheduled my training sessions, my coaching clients, my one-on-ones around my lives. So wherever you're tuning in, guys, like this video. Let me know where you guys are coming from. This is the second live of the day. I know Skeezy's from Perth. The Aussies, I'm getting more and more Australian subscribers, which is great considering I live in Sydney. Daniel Vega, what's up, buddy? I just got here. What up? Did you say go to the distance? I'm thinking about tonight. Carlos in the house in the Bay Area, DMV, DJ. I'm thinking about tonight's Batyrgaziev versus Dickens fight. I think he's going to get stopped. I think Dickens is going to get stopped. And if you play on statistics, if you side with my reasoning that Dickens is going to get stopped and you play on statistics and patterns, he gets stopped late. He's a very proud fighter. I watched, I uploaded my breakdown yesterday, but I've been watching more and more tape on Dickens. He fights very proudful. And at 34, 35 years old, he fought his way into this sort of opportunity once again, having lost every time he fought for a world title. I think Batyrgaziev stops him, and I'm leaning towards stopping him late. So I listened to one of you guys who said download Bet360 or Bet365. So I downloaded that app, and geez, man, the Bet365 app has way many more parlay options for the fights than my original app. So I kind of like that. It allows you to take over 9.5 plus the stoppage. I think the 2 fights on the app will end in knockout. Are you getting a second fight, Skeezy? I'm only getting 1. But I think it's going to end by stoppage. I think it's going to be late. So that's what I'm leaning on. Obviously, I got Batyrgaziev on the money line, and I like the odds there. I like the stoppage odds. If you take just the stoppage, it's $1.58. If you're convinced Batyrgaziev gets the stoppage, it's $1.58. Will the fight go the distance? No. 10,000 gets you 5,000 back. See, here lies in the dilemma. $1.50 is, I know a lot of big time bettors who make a living on the $1.50 bets. You know what I mean? 10 grand gets you 5 grand. That return of investment, 50%. I mean, what other stocks, what other markets you're going to get a 50% return of investment? But the risk that, you got 12 rounds. You got to watch this fight with the eyes of 12 rounds. Hopefully you get a stoppage. I think it's going to end at stoppage. The Havana's fight, which is $1.72 for stoppage. Okay, yeah, I did see that. So if you put stoppage $1.72, it's good. It's good odds too. Good money. Yeah, there's money to be made tonight, guys. If you're booked wherever you're tuning in, If your book allows you to take these fights in Turkey, and I just checked, it's 2 a.m. my time in Sydney, which I think Skeezy in Perth, that'll be what, your 11 p.m.? You're a little bit better off for that. And the fights are on YouTube. So I think it's IBA, the IBA YouTube. And allegedly they're promoting it with Tyson Fury is going to be there. I just watched the weigh-ins. Interesting promotional company. If you go to Radio Raheem's YouTube page, Radio Raheem he's the guy behind Seconds Out. And he has the weigh-ins, and it's a weird sort of production they're putting on there, but hopefully the fights are good. Guys, like I said, if you didn't catch, I just uploaded the breakdown of Harlem, Eubank, and Caterall with much thought, much film study. Yeah, David, I do. What do you feel about that, Eister? Do you think Batyrgaziev gets a stoppage? I like him to stop. I like him to stop Dickens late. And I'm just basing that off of statistics and how their fights kind of go, as well as Dickens's sort of style. You know, if you want to put the word, I already said the word brave. He fights like he's a brave fighter, meaning that he'll put himself in harm's way. It's not bad. Exactly. So, David, my app down here, it's allowing me to take the over 9.5 and the stoppage, which gives you, that 2.5 rounds for Batyrgaziev to get the stoppage. I think he does. I think mine's playing plus 750. I put the bet in the post section if you want to check it out. And, having broke down the tape on Caterall and Eubank, we talked about it in the earlier live stream. I uploaded my prediction. I'm left wondering actually how people see Harlem winning. And nothing against Eubank, but everything I've seen and watched on him, I'm seeing people are picking Harlem to beat Jack. That kind of shocks me a bit. Because when you watch Harlem's tape, he's not a big puncher. He kind of throws sort of, I don't even want to say punches in bunches, but he's going to have the more volume. He throws more punches than Jack. But when you're looking at the sort of quality of work of how Jack works and where Jack's power comes with his timing and sitbacks and counters, I don't know. I'm kind of shocked that fight is as close as it is. Havanas. Yeah, we talked the Havanas fight. It's a tricky fight. And Dejeni, I think if you could... Well, Dejeni is a guy who's fought a lot of world-class opponents. He's losses to Devin Haney. Havanas Batyrgaziev, 7 pro fights. I think the safe bet on that is, Skeezy said, if you take that Dejeni fight to end, will the fight end in stoppage? It's $1.72. Yeah, somebody messaged me about Parro versus Delgato. I think, I got to be honest with you, we covered Delgato's last fight on the channel. Jazza for the upset. Go for it. Sprinkle that money, Rico. Sprinkle that money. Lindolfo Delgato, right? Yeah, we covered Lindolfo Delgato. Really good record. He's coming off. He just fought a Puerto Rican fighter. Nah, I don't think Lindolfo beats Parro, man. I don't think. Did you watch? Delgato got, he got a victory last fight, and I picked Delgato. Oh, not Lindolfo. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. My bad. Yeah, Elvis Rodriguez. It is the same guy. Lindolfo Delgato is coming off a really close fight against Elvis Rodriguez. I picked Delgato to win the fight. He didn't look that good, though. He has a really good record. I think Parro should work. Oh, I was thinking of Liam Wilson. Hold on, we're getting some confusion here. Is it Liam Wilson or Liam Parro to fight Delgato? Because if it's Liam Parro, Parro beats Delgato. If it's Liam Wilson, that's a different fight. Yeah, we just got to figure out which Liam we're talking about. Because even though, you know, I picked Lindolfo Delgado to beat Rodriguez and I won money, they also ordered Liam Wilson. Oh, fight Zauer. Oh, Liam, I think that's easy money for Parro to beat Delgado, guys. I think just Liam's work, his sharpness, his accuracy. Dude, I mean, that version we just saw, granted, you know, it was against Johnny Navarro. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, like I said, Lindolfo has a great record. Some of you guys thought Elvis beat him. For my betting, I'm glad that the decision went to Delgado because I picked him and I broke that fight down. Yeah, he's not, I don't even think it's a 50-50 fight. I just don't think, I think Delgado, he doesn't have like super great explosivity. He's not that quick. He doesn't have one punch power. I think Liam does a lot of things. Does he crack? I don't know. Against who? I wasn't that impressed against Elvis. Elvis is a good fighter though. That was a great fight. Don't get it twisted. I was excited about the Delgado Elvis Rodriguez fight. He didn't really blow me away though. Delgado didn't. And Liam Parro, what I just saw against Navarro, granted, you know, Johnny Navarro is not, I don't know, maybe he would do well against Elvis Rodriguez. I don't like doing boxing mats. I just put Liam Parro above, a level above. Probably at least a level above Delgado. We'll have to see how it plays out. Is that official? That's a great fight if that's official. (23-0), 16 knockouts. What's his best win? You know, he stopped Marinez, Flores, Carlos Sanchez. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I still think, I don't know. I still think Liam Parro is a lot better than Lindolfo Delgado, guys, as a boxer. Unless, I mean, I've studied tape on this guy. You know, I picked him to win his last fight. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if it happens. Nothing's official yet. And I know the Elvis Rodriguez fans were pissed at that decision. You know, 95, dude, 96-94, 95-95, 96-94. That's a very close, could have definitely gone either way. Another southpaw. Yeah, another southpaw too. Elvis was a southpaw. I don't know. We'll see. Look, I think if that fight is razor close, Lindolfo versus Elvis, I think Parro's better than Elvis. I think Parro's better than Delgado. Dude, Parro's a decision away. Dude, the kid is a world-class champion. He's a world champion for a reason. He can box, man. He's getting, dude, it's going to be a tough fight for Delgado. I definitely think that's a step up for Delgado, if anything. You know what I mean? Of course. Delgado's never fought anyone like Liam. Damn, that Elvis fight just flew under the radar. I remember covering that just this past April. Nobody was talking about that fight. That's on the playlist. I featured that fight. I broke that fight down. I had a lot of fun studying their tape. I forgot about that. Derevyanchenko and Ramos tonight? Is that in Turkey? Is Derevyanchenko on that Turkey card? How come we didn't know that? That guy's been boxing forever, mate. It kind of makes sense. Yeah, Jeremy. No, it's in Nashville. There's a fight card in Nashville. I had no idea. It's an 8-rounder. No, it's in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. He's fighting Jeremy Ramos, who's 14-15. Well, yeah. Evander Holyfield's son's fighting tonight. Evan. What is this card? Guys, this is the first I'm getting of this card. Yeah, surely we're not going to be able to bet on it. Talk about domestic. Should be a good one. This is as domestic as it gets. Who's promoting this? The event is called Where Music Meets Boxing. Matchmaker Jimmy Adams, Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, I'm for it, but I don't recognize a lot of these names. Headline: Batyrgaziev versus Jeremy Ramos, who's 14-15. He's 38 years old. I mean, he lost to my boy Danny Feelgood Hollywood. Rosenberger. That's insane. Danny Rosenberger, Youngstown, Ohio fighter. Well, there you go. You guys have Tuesday night boxing in America on Triller. I didn't even know Triller was still a streaming service. We don't get that in Australia. Surely you guys don't have that on the books, do you? Are you guys able to bet on that fight? Hell no, yeah. You ain't betting on those. Yeah. Who even brought that up? Dude, I thought that is... Talk about some obscure fight cards where music meets boxing. Hey, man, I'm not hating. Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Sampson, the promoter. Damn, they got Derevyanchenko fighting in Tennessee. Jesus, boxing's such a brutal sport. Such a tough sport, man. Evander Holyfield's son, Derevyanchenko. He's coming off that loss to Christian Mabili. Beat Von Alexander, lost to Munguia. Wow, this is insane, dude. He fought Triple G in 2019, Charlo in 2020. Think about these fights back to back. Nobody wants to talk about this. Derevyanchenko fought Triple G, Jamal Charlo, Carlos Adames back to back to back, and didn't get stopped. He's never been stopped, has he? No. Derevyanchenko, dude. Put some respect on that dude's name. Lost a close split to Danny Jacobs. They got my man fighting in Nashville, Tennessee on a Tuesday. Insane. Hopefully he's getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully he's getting paid. When did he lose to Mabili? August. So about a half a year. No, shit. Half a year. Time's almost a year. It's already July. Jesus. Time has flown. Wild stuff here. What do you think of Andrew Maloney and RG Cortez in 2 weeks? RG Cortez, that's a tough fight. Andrew Maloney, man, Jesus, that's a tough fight, guys. RG Cortez versus Maloney, I don't know. I gotta be honest with you. That kid, dude, the Maloney brothers get some tough fights. RG Cortez is a tough fight for him. It's in Mexico. Hats off to the kid. You know, that kid has nuts. Going to Mexico. I don't know. Probably not going to bet that fight. Bachav odds are too high. Yeah, Dunjeni is a good fighter. 79, but look at the odds for the fight not to go the distance. Yeah, they do get a lot of opportunities. They don't dodge smoke, Skeezy. That's why. Them boys are savages. They'll just fight anybody. They'll put their hand up. Be like, I'll do it. Dunjeni, yeah, the odds are wild, but I think you could get some decent odds if you think, will the fight go the distance? Dunjeni, I don't think it will, obviously. I think that, the Armenian guy, McGee, the Armenian guy's, 7 wins, I think 6 stoppages. Dunjeni, when he loses, he gets stopped. He's a tough fighter. If anything, or you take Dunjeni for the upset. Or, take the boy at home. Yeah, you RG, talking about Maloney. I don't think it's out of... I mean, Dunjeni could go in there and upset the Armenian fighter. We'll see. I'm probably not going to... If I take action on that fight on the co-main tonight, it's going to be, will the fight go the distance? For a decision on my book. And you'd be salty as hell if you took that and then he went and he stops him. Don't get greedy. If you want Dunjeni, just take him to win on the money line. Because that's happened before. Take the dog, you get fancy with it, and the dog wins by knockout, and you're like, damn, I should have took you take a decision, and then he wins by knockout, and then you lose. So whenever it's a big underdog, if I even play the dog, I just do the money line. Maloney, yeah, win-loss since Junto. It's a tough sport, boys. Boxing's a tough sport, mate. Look at Derevyanchenko. Why do I find that so insane? That Derevyanchenko was fighting in Nashville, Tennessee on a Tuesday. Look who he's... Dude, the kid... Oh my... His resume is ridiculous. Never been stopped. They got my man fighting in the middle of Tennessee on a Tuesday. Probably making $4,200. That Munguia fight was insane. I forgot how good Munguia versus Derevyanchenko was. Maloney 34 got knocked. Yeah, it's boxing, boys. People get starched. People get knocked the F out, don't they? No, you're talking about which Maloney? Wasn't the big knockout against Inoue? IBF just ordered Liam Wilson. Okay, Zauerbach, final eliminator. Okay, here are the boys coming in with the Ivanis puts a lot of pressure. Barbosa stopped him. That fight's out. Do you have a pick for Fiaz versus? I'm leaning towards Fiaz more. I'm leaning towards Fiaz. Andrew is Jason. Yeah, both brothers. That was it. Andrew is Junto, Jason by. Yeah, they're super brave. I think, those guys are tough as nails. It's tough, though, when you get stopped once, especially. Yeah, I'm not... Liam, man, I was really let down by Liam's last performance. Granted, the Argentinian fighter, say what you want about him. He didn't want to engage. He moved. The Argentinian fighter was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. I think Delgato is a level below Liam Parro. I do. Just based off of what Delgato looked like against Elvis and what Liam just looked like and where Liam's been and where he wants to go. Delgato, good record. I don't know. I just see Liam is sharp, guy. Liam is a very sharp puncher. Sharp, accurate, doesn't have a lot of fat on his punches. Man, that was the best version I've seen of him in his last fight. Like I said, granted, Navarro, hadn't fought in 5 years. Had 2 fights since the 5-year layoff. At one time he was a good prospect. Robert Garcia, trained fighter. They're going to be prepared. Just Liam made him look so average. Like he was stuck in the mud. He was like a punching bag. Want to see Oktabek Klimatov get back in the mix at 26. He gave Ray Ford a good fight. He did. There's so many guys that you get a shot and then you lose and then they just kind of fall to the wayside. Let's pull up that full card again one more time. Let's see what we're working with tonight. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I won money on Lindolfo against Elvis. We featured that fight here. But, look at the scorecards. What, 96-94, 95-95, 96-94? It could have went either way. Raw dog. I'm not. Let one of the boys answer that question. That Raw dog, that's not a real fight, mate. I welcome you to the channel, welcome you to the live stream. But this is the wrong live stream for us to be even answering that question because we already know that answer. But where were we? So... Jazza Dickens. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a farce. It was a farcical matchup. The undercard was decent. You'd be afraid he gets robbed in that fight. Yeah, I don't like betting. If when we're asking about who do we think are going to win, it's a legit question we have to ask ourselves about the robbery. But even, in terms of credibility, even if you break a fighter down, everybody in the world knows he won the fight, but he gets robbed, it's out of your hands there. So I would never pick a guy, an outcome of victory based on the chance of him winning by winning a robbery. That's just my own sort of thing. I'd rather just stick with, I think so-and-so is going to win, and when they get robbed, I'll say, hey, I lost my bet, but I still think he won. Elvis, it was very close. Look, yeah, 96, I think 96, 94 twice, 95, 95 on one of the scorecards. Okay, so I'm pulling up the entire card. So the card tonight, it's on YouTube. Yeah, Batyrgaziev versus Donjeni. And Will Chope. I already talked about that. Yeah, Will Chope is fighting for Caterall. Now, Chris, I uploaded my breakdown, guys. Earlier today, I uploaded my breakdown of Caterall versus Eubank. And that's on my playlist section, Fight Predictions. You can check it out. I don't see Harlem Eubank being on the same level as Jack. Skeezy, IBA. So go to YouTube and type in IBA Boxing. IBA Boxing is playing the fights on YouTube. I don't see Harlem Eubank. I don't see it. I mean, I was torn going into my prediction. I broke the film study down. I watched, initially I just watched Harlem's last 3 fights. I went back and watched 2 more. And, he's athletic. He doesn't really punch that well. He's going to punch with more volume. He doesn't disguise his offense. He's new. He's new to the sport. Jack Caterall is a pro, world level. I don't even think they're on the same level. I think Jazza gets stopped. Landslide. You think if it's close, they're going to give it to Harlem? Because it's a 12-rounder. It's a 12-rounder. The thing Jack does really well, and I think that this is what I'm leaning on. This is what I feel is going to be the major narrative, is Jack's timing. Ashton Sill returns this week. Are you trolling us with that comment? They could rob him because he was more upside. I don't know. I mean, think about this, guys. Saying somebody has more upside. They're basically the same age, 32, 31. Jack was basically the undisputed world champion, but we know what happened against Josh the first time. So he's never had the title around his waist. 147 is so lean. Right now, the BoxRec algorithm has Jack at 6 and Eubank at 20. This will be Eubank's 3rd fight at 47, Jack's 1st fight at 47. We know that Brian Norman has one of the belts. We know that Barrios is fighting Pac-Man, the other belt, and we know Boots is vacating his 2. So that being said, Caterall's fighting in Manchester. Caterall dominates Eubank. He puts his name right back into a very lean poll, P-O-L-L, or P-O-O-L, of opportunities to fight for titles. Dwayne, salute. Get in that sauna a couple times a week. I do the same, 30 minutes. Extreme dry heat. Heat shock proteins. Harlem looks big. Yeah, but size, it's what I was telling one of my buddies today on a phone call. We were talking about this fight. The British media is making, Chris Sr. will be there. Chris Sr. is going to be in his corner. We know that Harlem is Junior's cousin. We know that he's coming off that knockout victory over Tyron McKenna. After he stopped Tyron McKenna, he calls out Conor Benn. We know that fight's not going to happen because Conor's going to fight his cousin Junior again. I don't know. I don't see. The thing Jack does really well is when we talk about how he boxes, he's not a guy who uses the entire ring, but he's a guy who uses his footwork, his feints to move around in a small amount of space because that's where he's best at countering. And his accuracy and his timing. I think he's going to counter. I could just see Jack just picking apart Harlem almost the entire fight. Harlem's going to throw more. Jack doesn't throw a lot, But what he makes up for with that lack of volume is his accuracy. Also, if they're gonna play the jab game, I mean, Caterall's jab is better than Eubank's. If you want to play, who they've been in there with. What does Eubank do better than Jack? I'm confused. I don't see it. Earlier in the week, I was thinking about, hell, maybe Eubank could win this fight. And another thing is, where does Jack go from here if he loses? This is no one's talking about this. This is a really risky fight for Jack Caterall with a really low reward. Because if Jack goes in and beats Eubank, people are going to say, who was Harlem Eubank? Why did he fight Harlem? And if he loses, where does he go from here? But Harlem has everything to gain. So I was kind of shocked that Jack even wanted, this fight got signed. Because you don't see, other than Caterall getting his feet wet at 47. Yeah. Oh, Caterall. I had Caterall winning a couple by at least 2 rounds in the first. Caterall beat up Josh Taylor that first fight. Caterall should have been the undisputed champ at 40. And it's a shame what happened. I don't think Caterall's on the decline. He's lost to Barboza Jr. and Taylor. That's it. Both really close fights. Really close fights. And, the loss to Barboza didn't age that well considering how he looked against Teofimo. Who do you think is better, Dalton Smith or Caterall? If you would have asked me that, Koki, 3 months ago, I would have said Dalton Smith. But after I just saw Dalton Smith box 6 weeks ago, I was kind of... Dalton Smith fought a clubber and couldn't stop him. I still don't... I think Jack still could be a champ. I think the pressure's on Jack. Because like I said, where does he go with his career if he loses his fight? I think all the pressure's on Caterall. I think he's going to step up. Winner of Dalton Smith. Man, Playo and Matias would beat Dalton Smith. Maybe he just had an off night. Maybe Dalton but we live stream his last fight. Lester's a beast. Rich Blackman, what's up, boys? 30 minutes into our second live stream. Guys, make sure... How are your clients? Oh, yeah, I have clients every day. They're going good. I've coached... I have one more session tonight, strength and conditioning client. Just going to do some powerlifting, have some trap bar deadlifts, and a little bit of chest. Feels that Jack might get robbed. I have no idea why Jack would get robbed in Manchester. I don't think he can hang at 47. Well, the 47 weight class isn't that deep, guys. Like I said, Barrios is a champion at 47. I can see Curios at dark horse at 47, exposed by Rocha. Yeah, there are a couple. Aquete. Jack these arms, his arms. It'll put him closer. Yeah, Mar the Prince, you're spot on. Yeah, Mark, we covered the Batyrgaziev, the Jenny fight. I like the fight not to go the distance. So rather than picking a winner because Jenny's a huge dog, if you could take fight not to go the distance, McGee, study Eubank. Watch his last 5 fights. He's gotten better and better a little bit. No, Jack's not Welsh. He's English. He is a gatekeeper. He's fought everybody. But he's fighting an Armenian fighter with only 7 pro fights. We've seen this before. I'm not saying that he's going to win the fight. I'm just saying I like the prop bet, the fight. You don't have to pick one. You could the fight will end by stoppage. Will the fight go the distance? No. Curiel, Roca, Santana, all top 10. What about... You just said Roca and Santine, all top 10. You haven't even mentioned... What about Polanka? What about Rohan Polanka? That's a name nobody talks about. I put him up. That kid could box. Jack's from Lancashire. I don't think Jack could be a world champ. I see the talent, but don't see the aggression. I mean, there's been a lot of world champions who weren't aggressive. Mar the Prince is Kid Austin a lock, top 10, 135-pounder. Polanco is good. Is Kid Austin a lock? I need to see more of Kid Austin. I need to see more. I mean, for a kid to step up like that and do what he did, man, you gotta like his chances, don't you? You gotta like his chances. Not every 22-year-old could come and do that. I became a fan. Just for the sake, you know, I'm answering a question about do I think that Schofield is a top 10 135-pounder. Not every 22-year-old could do that. And I'm not talking about the knockout, the first-round knockout. You know, could silence the doubters, silence the haters. I was one of them. And show up in a feature fight with a real solid veteran, a former world champion, and do that. That says a lot about a guy. So yeah, I like, just based on that, I like where he's trending. It's crazy to think, you know, that division, he's 22, Abdullah's 21. That's going to be a fun fight down the road. I'd like to see that fight take place later on. I think that's why people are afraid betting on Jack. I don't know. I think some people, you think they're afraid of betting on, I don't think people are afraid of betting on Jack. I think people are getting kind of like big-eyed because the last name Eubank and the 21-0 record. I think that's what it is more than anything. At least the bettors. Or I think Caterall, I don't know. I don't mind being way off on this. I think Caterall is going to show his levels. Polanco versus Giasov would be a good fight. We cover all those. Matias beating a lot of people. I do not have Matias beating Playo. I don't know who you're talking to. Matias is going to get outboxed against Playo. The gas. Yeah, I'm going heavy on Playo to beat Matias. Schofield said it for me. He was going to knock him out. He did. Vegas odds are now trending towards Norman. Schofield, Jack has bad stamina. I don't know if he has bad stamina. He just doesn't. You think his conditioning's bad? I always took the upset this year. One big on Caleb playing it. Resendez. You got Matias by knockout. I mean, statistically, that's not a crazy bet. I mean, based on Matias's knockouts. But Playo, you think he's gonna knock Playo out? Nah, that's not happening. I think the safer bet is Playo by decision. I think he wins a lot of rounds and makes Matias look pretty average, to be honest with you. Matias is balanced. Matias is always out of position. His balance is off. He's one-dimensional. Very easy to game plan for. So when you're looking at like style versus style, what they're gonna have to do in their fight camp, I don't see Matias making adjustments. I haven't seen Matias leveling up. Matias is who he is, and that's fine. He has that. Yeah, Matias is who he is, and that's fine. But Playo is a good boxer, man. You don't think he's ever... Dude, I think that Gary Antoine Russell hits just as hard as Matias. What are you talking about? Just because Matias has all those knockouts doesn't mean he's the hardest puncher. You got to look at level of competition. GAR hits like a truck, dude. What do you mean? I'm getting baited here, guys. I'm getting baited by Raw Dog. He just threw in Jake Paul, and now he threw in Abel Ramos. Yeah, he did, but I mean, rest in peace. Wasn't it Dadashev? He did fight GAR really well. Yeah, Playo's going to outbox Matias. I think GAR punches just as hard as Matias, by the way. Raw Dog, if you weren't on my live stream yesterday, I went on a rant because I said I'm never betting on a Figueroa again. I'm never betting on Brandon Figueroa or Omar, and I brought up the Omar Figueroa versus Abel Ramos fight a couple years ago. when Omar, I don't want to talk about it. So raw dog, I'll just leave it there. Yeah, very easy money for Playo. Once again, whenever you have a fighter like Matias who has a specific path to victory with that hand, I see why people were picking him. But I got to come at it from a logical reasoning perspective. I don't see him beating him. I'm a huge fan of Rohan Polanco. I think Rohan Polanco could be a future world champion. Yeah, I don't think Matias's power is that good to be. I don't at the highest level. I mean, he knocks out a lot of domestic level guys. But, you know, it's a tough conversation to have. It's a tough debate to win one side or the other. Who has better power? I mean, I still would take GAR over Matias. I'd probably take GAR over Matias every day of the week, actually. Joet Gonzalez getting stopped in a few. I love it. I love the chat. Rather than saying Brandon Figueroa, I love boxing, dude. I love boxing. Rather than saying like Brandon Figueroa, the way boxing minds work is rather than saying Brandon Figueroa is going to jump back on the right track, you know, his last performance was a fluke. He was flat-footed. He didn't look good. The comment was, Joet's going to get stopped. Yeah, GAR versus Hitchens, man, that's a lot closer of a fight than it was a month ago. Yeah, I'm high on both guys. That's a fun fight, Hitchens versus GAR. Cordina's opponent, is he good? Cordina's going to win that fight. That's what I mean. Matias, it's not the power that people think it is. He's heavy, he's dense and heavy-handed, but it's not like Fulton did well with the clinch versus Fig. Yeah, Fulton looked amazing that fight. Fulton looked and he frustrated Figueroa from the first round onwards. GAR versus Teo, I don't think that's the fight. Okay, Chris. Now, Chris B. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have to watch. I mean, when you watch boxing enough, you see a long, crafty southpaw. Jesus, who fight like he uses a whole ring. Man, he can make, dude, that style, Alberto Playo's style could make a lot of punchers look really basic. He can make a lot of guys look really basic if they don't have the feet to catch him, if they don't have the timing to catch him. Yeah, that was a bad loss. Good call on the Navarrete. Always looking for the underdog. That's why, David, tonight, I'm not saying Dengeni wins. He's a huge dog, but I think that fight, take that fight to not go the distance. I think it's $1.78. I'm not underlooking Eubank. I'm not underlooking Eubank because of his resume. I'm underlooking Eubank because of his lack of boxing, his lack of boxing arsenal versus Caterall. Eubank, Universal Truth, Polanco versus Brian, how would it play out? I'm high on Polanco. Are you talking Polanco versus Brian Norman Jr. right now? Thanks for the tip as well. I really appreciate it. Just so we clarify, are you saying Polanco versus BNJ right now? It's actually a good chat to have. It's actually a good conversation to have. Brian Norman Jr., he has all the waves right now, and I'm high on him. I really like how he operates. I want to see more from Rohan Polanco. Like I told you earlier in this chat, I think Rohan Polanco will be a world champion. I want to see him up against couple different styles. You guys who picked Essuman, man, hats off to you. I didn't see that one coming. Playo isn't a pure boxer. Playo is able to neutralize. Eubank going to style on Jack. I don't think so. Playo just lacks power. Austin didn't look good. That's a real good fight. Playo said he's going to have to knock out Matias. He said that? What a fun fight card that is. Time will tell. You don't think Playo's a pure boxer? That's interesting. Eubank is a regional level talent. Exactly. Eubank's domestic. Matias has a cybernetic chin. Good luck, Playo. What a great adjective. Matias has a cybernetic chin. What a great adjective. That's well put, Koki. Well put. I got to hear Playo say, no. Yeah, I would be shocked. That doesn't sound like Alberto Playo. But we could. This is the best part of our sport, though, being able to sit back and kind of see styles versus styles. Because if there was some algorithm or an AI equation that you could just put in, it wouldn't. There's no 100% hit rate. We have no idea how these things are gonna play out. Yeah, no, he comes from, dude. What? Just watching, even though like those back-to-back fights with GAR and Sandor Martin with Playo, it really, in both fights were really close. They were kind of like a mirror opposite in terms of against GAR, he had to come back. A lot of those earlier rounds he was losing, and then GAR I think mistimed his gas tank, and then Playo stepped on the volume and then won the mid to late rounds. And then when you look at the Sandor Martin fight, Martin was, winning a lot of the rounds, especially early on, and then in typical Sandor Martin fashion, the last 15, 20, 25 seconds of the later rounds, he would lose. And so it just showed me I wasn't aware of how good of a boxer Playo was until the GAR fight. So I mean, you're gonna have to win more rounds than that guy. And I just don't see Matias trapping him in the corner and knocking him out. Who would you favor, Pitbull or Edwin? Good matchup. Good matchup. Both young guys, too. It's a good matchup. Great question, Moore. I'd have to sit on it. I think Edwin. Garcia versus Romero, distance. You picked that? What did that pay? That's a good call. How'd you look like a man? I know. Raw Dog. You know what I think it was, Raw Dog? I'm glad you brought that up. I'll get you Lambo in a second. I think Raw Dog would happen with GAR early on. I don't know if he thought he was just going to be able to dog walk Playo and use his power and volume and pressure to make Playo quit. And then he got caught with a good counter at the end of the fourth round. And I think from rounds 4, 5, 6 onwards, like I said, I just don't think he managed his gas tank properly. And we saw what he looked like after that fight against Ryo. Holy shit. One of the best performances of 2025 of any fighter, in my opinion. That was one of my favorite performances. That performance, and then, I got to throw Richardson looked great as well against George. In Lambo, you asked Kataev versus Morel. I've been covering Amon Kataev because he's promoted by George Kambosos' dad, Jim. So we see a lot of his fights here in Australia. I think he's 10-0. He gasses early. He's really stiff. He keeps his head on the midline. He's there to get hit. I think David Morrell is going to take a lot of lessons he learned against Benavidez and style on Kataev. I think he's going to stop him. I learned more about David Morrell and his loss against Benavidez than I did up until that fight because I really wasn't sold. I really wasn't sold on Morrell going in the Benavidez fight, and I picked Benavidez to win. I made money on that fight, but after the fight, I actually became a fan of Morrell. I like how he fought him. The kid is tough as nails, and I think he's a level above Kataev. What am I missing here? You don't think Ryo is very? I mean, come on, he's a former world champ, dude. You can't Well, then our sport sucks. Then if you don't think a guy who's a former world champion is that good, then our sport has no credibility. Let's cover arm wrestling or let's cover slap, because that's an easy narrative to debunk. Whenever you beat a champion and take his belt, you can't just then have revisionist history and say he wasn't that good, because people weren't saying that when he won his belt. I don't think Ryo would beat Matias or Playo, for that matter. I kind of agree, actually. I don't know. I would love to see Ryo versus Matias. Ryo's just brave. Zepeda has a sophisticated pressure style. He utilized very effective jab to start and end his combos. Yeah. Well, no, he had a full belt. There's 4. There's only 4 belts. Not the end of the world. And if one guy has them, there's only 1 belt. If somebody's undisputed, there's 1 belt. So, I mean, a lot of belts. I mean, I don't include regular, regional, domestic. Throw the ring in there. But yeah, there should be one belt. But what I'm saying is that's also a flawed argument to then negate a fact of a guy being a world champion and then saying that, you know, he wasn't that good. How dare you bring him up? We're not talking about him. We're not talking about Jake Paul. What are you talking about, dude? This isn't a this one's getting saucy. Yeah, come on, dude. I was not. Yeah, I wasn't either. Neither was I. Some people were though. Not you. I'm talking about the boxing fandom, the zeitgeist of boxing. I mean, once again, I have all my receipts. Go to my playlist fight predictions. You'll see the breakdowns of any of these fights. Read the comments. That's all I'm saying. Read the comments of the Ryo versus GAR breakdown when I picked GAR. All these people, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And I was telling them, I was like, mate, I'm a Ryo fan, but GAR is better than him. So there were a lot of people expecting Ryo to beat GAR. You like Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr.? You think that was a hell of a fight? I don't know. I mean, it was entertaining. I wouldn't say it was a hell of a fight. That's controversial. It's not supposed to be. It was a very basic fight. I don't want to see it again, actually. I'm kind of bummed out that Eubank and Ben are fighting again. To answer your question, Berlanga. I like it. John Magana, we agree. I like all three of those picks. I think do you think Pacquiao can upset the people here in the Philippines if Pacquiao loses the elections? He'll take revenge. What? Hold on, Mark. What? You have Zepeda for the upset. Wow. Zepeda versus Shakur. You have Zepeda beating Shakur? So he wins more rounds than him? He wins a decision? Yeah, only GK. It's dangerous to do boxing mats like that, though, considering, you know, how boxing works. It's not, you know, I understand your point there. What is Shakur's best win? I mean, my favorite Shakur win was when he knocked out Jamel. But that was at 30. His best one was probably at 26, actually. Not by decision, corner stoppage, no Moss. That's insane. That's insane, Koki. Put money on that. I don't see that happening. Zepeda got dropped in the first one. I'm just talking about levels, not exactly for sure. Yeah, I can see it. No, you're speaking about what you've seen. So we have that's what I meant, GK, is that a fascinating thing about our sport is that sometimes what we see examples and we use it as our logical reasoning for a future potential outcome, it doesn't always work out. So, yeah, that's why our sport's so hard to predict, because we have evidence. We see how this fight ended, so this fight should go this way, and sometimes it doesn't go that way. Yeah, Yoshino, that's what I was thinking. I mean, my favorite performance of his, though, is when he stopped Jamel. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying my favorite performance of his, personally. Is it racist to say some dudes have other countrymen dudes number? Is it racist some dudes have? No, I don't think so. Right now, I'm a firm believer that the Mexicans go into the UK and they win all the time. I don't think that's racist. Dude, boxing, my channel, you're not going to experience any of that. I think we're speaking statistics. When Mauricio Lara came from Mexico and stopped Josh Warrington, I should have known then that was going to start this trend. That was going to start this trend of Mexican fighters going to the UK. God damn it keeps happening. It's a new narrative. And I got to do my research. Maybe you guys know. When did this trend start? Could we go back before Lara versus Warrington? I don't think so, Mac. I have a nice little cheeky two-legger with Batyrgaziev winning by stoppage late. I put that, guys, if you go to my posts, I put that bet up for for you guys to see. Batyrgaziev to win by stoppage after 9.5 rounds pays plus 750. Zepeda's not getting stopped. Yeah, Zepeda's... That's a great fight, Zepeda versus Shakur, guys. That's a tough one to predict. That's why we're talking about it now. Kudos to both camps for making that fight. And yeah, and then having seen Floyd do that to Tevin, put Floyd's name there in 30. Dude, 135 is saucy right now. July is lit. You got, we haven't even talked about Abdullah Mason allegedly is fighting the young kid from the UK. His name is slipping. Mexican or violent UK boxer, technically, and some are, but I'm not. You can't really argue too much compartmentalizing fighters like that. Zepeda shows a great contrast, great records, great trajectory of careers. Morataya, 135. I think of the champs there, he's the guy that's probably easy for the pickings. Well, the thing about Jazza Dickens, it's not that he got knocked out really badly. It's because he's so brave, which is going to sound counterintuitive. You can bet on a point deduction. Damn, this is insane. Let me answer that question though about why I think James Dickens gets stopped late. It's not. I mean, he's been stopped 4 times. He got stopped. His first time he got stopped 10 years ago against Guillermo Rigondeaux. We know that Kid Galahad stopped him twice. There's 3. I think he got stopped 1 more time. It's just because he fights so brave. He's a dog. He's going to fight that fight. And his opponent is going to give that fight. His opponent could crack. Batyrgaziev could crack. And I think that it's going to take a little while for him to break Jazza down. 35 years old. Jazza's coming off a good win against Zelfa Barrett. For, 4 odds for me to be really invested in this fight tonight, I'm going for Batyrgaziev to stop him late. Did you peep the RCC Russian card? How are you guys getting these cards? I didn't see that card. I just found out you guys have fights tonight in Tennessee. Sergey Derevyanchenko is fighting tonight in Tennessee against a dude who's 15 and 16, which is insane. Evander Holyfield's son, Evan, is on that undercard. Tonight in Tennessee. Yeah, so it was 5 times. Twice against Kid Galahad, once against Guillermo Rigondeaux. And this is just off the top of my brain. I can't find it. So you guys have paid a cookie. Body shot, I'm calling it. Same as John O'Carroll. Okay. It's tonight. Well, the Dickens fight is 2 a.m. in Australia. That fight goes down in 12 hours. I'm taking Berlanga to stop Shiraz too. I've been getting a lot of pushback on it, but I'm comfortable with that pick actually. I think Shiraz should have had another fight after Adames before he fights Berlanga, but I think that Turki Al-Sheikh is kind of controlling Shiraz's career. And I think that Turki Al-Sheikh really doesn't have the best boxing eye in terms of what he sees. I don't know if Turki knows how to. Turki doesn't have a high fight IQ, right? He doesn't. You could tell he came into the sport a newbie. So what he sees, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, and some of the shit he says is insane. That being said, if I was handling Shiraz's career, I wouldn't have taken that fight right away at 168. I think Berlanga stops him. Body, John O'Carroll. John O'Carroll, domestic level guy. We got any MMA this week, boys? Do we have any MMA this week? Does Turkey even futures? June 13th. What is this? Matches. There's no UFC this week, are there? June. No. This betting app is. Yeah. He got dropped. He got buzzed. Didn't really get hurt. It's boxing. People get dropped. You know what I mean? Like, I don't cherish that as a stat to bet against. Like, people get dropped. I actually picked Inoue. I hit a 15-1 when Inoue fought Cardenas for Inoue to get dropped. I'm burning that I didn't do the get dropped and win because that was 30-1. But I just picked Inoue to get dropped against Cardenas, 15-1. He's one of the best fighters in the world. Fighters get dropped. It's part of boxing. He wasn't hurt. He got buzzed. Great fight. In MMA, one of them. Great fight. Josh, I broke that fight down. I hope you listened to me. I hope you won money on Josh Van. He's wild. I admit, Butter swing. Yeah, McGee, it's his hooks. It's weird. I would call it unorthodox. He punches at these weird angles. He does these weird. It's a weird angle he punches at. It's very unorthodox. But that mixed with Jazza, how he fights. Yeah, I'm only riding Van because I'm winning a lot of money off of his fights, and his boxing's some of my favorite in MMA. Haney and Shakur have never really faced a young pressure fighter. They built their careers off of faded veterans. I mean, you can only fight who they put in front of you. This is part of boxing, guys. Is how a career has moved along. Do you think? I don't think anyone's ducking anybody. No, I don't think Islam's ducking Ilya. I got Zepeda, but I admit I'm biased for the volume style. Shakur is an A-low technician. Yeah, I think I think Zepeda's tailor-made for Shakur to piece up. Actually, I think Shakur is going to piece up Zepeda and hit him a lot. I could see a late stoppage, to be honest with you. Like, Shakur's probably sitting there like this. I don't have to win the fight. I just think it's going to be very competitive. It's going to be a competitive fight. Dickens is fighting for his career. You know what I mean? That his last win over Zelfa gave him this opportunity. You know, we talked about it. Every time he fought for a world title, he's lost. He's a tough fighter. He wants to be a world champion. This would put him, a step closer. If he loses, you got to think he retires. Jazza probably hangs him up if he loses. It's a tough fight. This is a good fight. It's a good fight. It's going to be a real competitive fight in a fun division. Boz in the house. What's everyone's picks for the Jazza card? Yeah, we were talking a little bit about it. I know some of the boys, Boz, are, the two main fights. The main event, obviously, I'm taking Batyrgaziev. I have a parlay with Batyrgaziev to win, actually to stop him late. Yeah, I love Skeezy's bet. Albert by stoppage, 8-12. I love that bet. And then I'm also taking the Dojeni fight not to go the distance. So there's some of the other content creators are saying there's not a lot. There's money to be made tonight in Turkey. And one of my boys is fighting on the undercard, Will Chope. I'm only laughing because Will Chope seems like Will should be like 1,000 years old. But Will's only like, I think, 37, 36. Will fought Max Holloway in the UFC in 2013, I think. And he's fought in the UFC. He's fought in Lumpinee stadiums in Thailand, Muay Thai. He's had Lethway fights. He's had bare knuckle fights. He has a boxing record. Yeah, showcase for Albert. And I think that skill versus violence. You think Galal versus Rodriguez was skill versus violence? I mean, I picked Galal to win, but I didn't. That was one-way traffic. Dickens decision, $50, really good bet. Get it, get your money. Will, yeah, cutie, you know Will the Kill Chope. Go to my playlist and find interviews with important people. I have an old interview with me and Will, where we talk about his journey through the fight game. But how he get the December in Turkey? Think it's a stretch. How do you get December? I think I missed. How's he get the decision in Turkey? I think it's a stretch. Yeah, I like that card's built around Batyrgaziev, gold medal Olympian. It's a fun matchup, mate. I'm glad that it's not going to be one. It's not going to be one-sided. It's going to be really close. Yeah, Dickens is coming off his win against Zelfa Barrett. And I talked about Zelfa all week. British boxing fans will know the name. Zelfa at one time, man, people were really, really high on. Yeah, I used to train with guys in Sydney who came from his gym before they came to Sydney and just couldn't talk high enough about Zelfa Barrett. And that win for Jazza, that just resuscitated his career. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, let's like this video. We're over an hour. We got fights tonight. Guys, if it's on IBA Boxing's YouTube channel. It's going to be 2 a.m. my time. I don't know if I'm going to stay up, guys. Do you think it's going to be a Bet Live fight? If that's how would you, Mac, clarify that for me? Because I think the fight is going to trend how it looks on paper. I think it's going to be ultra competitive early to mid rounds, and I think the Dickens is going to fade. You're doing an upset buys. Jazza and Dungenny. What's that paying, man? Good luck on that. No, I mean, it doesn't hurt to sprinkle something on the dogs, does it? My man's going dog hunting. Doesn't hurt to sprinkle something on the boys. Nice. I didn't know that. That's good. Hopefully he gets back on the winning track. Yeah, Dungenny, man, resume-wise, he's fighting, his opponent only has 7 fights. Go-out fight was supposed to him, a showcase. I know. We didn't know that Francisco Rodriguez Jr. was going to come into Mexico and or come into the UK and fight the best fight he's fought in forever. Dude, he looked amazing. I want to see a urine test. For sure. I've been saying it since I've seen it. I want to see the urine test of Francisco Rodriguez Jr., mate. That pace, volume, that belt-to-ass beatdown he put on Galal. I need to see his blood work. Yeah, you got to sprinkle something on the dogs. Guys, I have to continue with my day. I've done 2 live streams today. Make sure you tap into the video I just uploaded. You'll see my prediction of Jack versus Harlem. Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to be going rest of the week, 2 lives a day. I'm also going to be uploading another breakdown feature. So stay tuned. I appreciate you, boys. Appreciate all the support. Let's get this money. Good luck to everybody who has action tonight in Turkey. Let's do it.